This is the Bars to Chains podcast, but before we get into today's episode, I want to give a special shout out to Anchor, what makes us be able to do what we do on this podcast, and I'm going to go briefly over why. The creation tools on this app is super easy to use. Once you download the app, it's even on your website, however you would like to edit and record your podcast, you'd be able to use the creation tools to edit, take anything out, add anything. If you want to add sound effects, music, anything like that, it gives it at a touch of a button. You also have no minimum listenership, so if you feel that you have $1 million idea and you want to get your podcast a bunch of views, you can make money off of it just by having a little sponsor segment like this one you're hearing now. And the distribution tools on it as well. Once you post your podcast onto Anchor, it'll distribute it to your other platforms, and without having to do it individually, it'll do it at the touch of a button, and it'll give you the links to those as well. It's easy access as well, guys. This is super, literally easy to use. I am not a tech savvy guy by any means, and I literally do it all in the touch of a button, and it just does it all for me. It does the work for me. Now, most importantly, you want to hear this. It's the favorite F word ever. This is all easy to use, and it's free. All you literally have to do if you want to have any sort of income back from it is just have a sponsor segment, and even if you choose not to, you can still use it, and it'll work for you. Now, if you plan to start a podcast, make sure you use this. It's something you don't want to miss, and make sure you give them a shout out, as they will always reach back out to you too. They have an awesome following on their social media pages, so make sure you tag them when you post your episodes. Thank you guys so much. We love you all, and enjoy today's episode. Welcome back, everybody, to season 2 of the Bars to Chains podcast, where we have my buddy Tariq in studio today. How you been, Tariq?
Pretty good, tired.
Yeah,
having these league games and stuff, but
right,
we're doing the thing. It's been a crazy, what is it, week 4 now that we're in our season?
Yeah,
week 4. It's been pretty crazy, but I'm excited. I think we're playing good. We have a very solid team. I believe that we are going to go to the championship and just win, because we're great on both sides of the ball, so I don't see why not.
Yeah, honestly, with our squad, man, we're we're a solid quarterback away from being elite. You know what I mean? In my opinion, that's just kind of how I feel. Kind of seeing this thing go the way it has been. Definitely should be racking up more points, but yeah, no, I feel that. So to kind of crack open this episode, first and foremost, we just want to thank everybody for all the love and support that we got in season 1. I can't really think of the statistics off my head, but we pulled in a lot of great views, and I got a lot of great feedback from you guys, and we definitely love all that input and that positive energy that you guys put into it, and all the merch you guys have bought. We just love that love and support, and we thank every single one of you guys for all the commitment and help you guys have given us. So we're gonna kind of get into a little bit of a trending topic as of lately. The Tory Lanez situation with Megan Thee Stallion. This week they had officially announced that he is looking towards a possible 22-year sentence. I can't really remember what all the full charges were. The one I recall the most is firing an unregistered weapon was one of the charges. Crazy stuff. I'm kind of torn on it. I'm not gonna lie. Before this all happened, I was a huge Tory Lanez fan, and I typically stand by my artists in even their darkest times. In this situation, it's not by any means okay, nor will I ever harm on a woman. But I'm kind of torn on it, because I'm almost curious to see what the full story really is. You know what I mean? Because in one of the tracks in his recent album, Daystar, he kind of was talking about just trying to make it sound all alleged. You know what I mean? Trying to allude that it wasn't him, but he won't really say who it was, and just there was kind of some, I don't know. To me, it kind of rubbed off as in he's definitely, I would assume he's probably going to plead not guilty.
Yeah.
Which could be interesting, because typically when you take those plea bargains, they may knock down that sentence and they may let you out sooner than later. But if he's definitely gonna try and go for the not guilty part of it, then he will have to be more than likely okay with the sentence that he gets if he is charged as guilty. So oddly enough, I don't usually typically kind of get hype on court situations because this is kind of a not great situation. But I could see it kind of turning into a fiasco, so to speak, kind of how the Tekashi 6ix9ine situation was. Because I mean, just based on like the first couple of tracks that I heard on Daystar, he definitely is very like he's gonna protect himself in every way, which form and possible, and even if that means kind of throwing shade at people that were involved in the situation.
Yeah, most definitely. I think at this point, with him dropping the album when he did, and what he said like on Instagram and stuff, I think it was bad timing. I think because people, they haven't really got it over it, and all the details haven't came out as much. So for him to do that, like, it sparked a lot of controversy. Like, I remember I could see on Twitter, Rick Ross was calling him out and stuff. And like, I understand he's trying to protect his image and stuff as an artist and stuff, but
Yeah.
by him not saying into detail what happened and everything and dropping the album instead, like, it made his image look bad. So I know a lot of people were very upset with him too.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I am one of those people I was very disheartened to see this situation pop up and present itself the way that it has, especially for as successful as his recent album was. Not Daystar, but the previous album before that, the new Toronto 3. I actually like that album a lot, and I would argue that it might be one of my favorite Tory projects. Outside of maybe the Chicks Tape 5. I had a lot of love and respect for that one too. But honestly, with this one, I still have to kind of finish the rest of the album, so I'm gonna kind of see what else got said in terms of his perspective on the situation and how he's kind of battling it. You know,
yeah.
I just, like I said, I'm kind of on a half and half thing, because if it comes out and, I mean, it doesn't sound like that's the case, but if it comes out and it wasn't him, part of me's like, you know, I want to be able to just kind of go back in my full-blown, you know, Tory takeover, you know, type feel. Yeah. But I don't really necessarily know if that's going to be the case or not. And I'm kind of, I'm doing a lot of homework on it, and it genuinely seems like there's a lot of gray area to the story. That seems like anything that I'm reading up on is definitely kind of here and there. Like, you could see both sides of the argument. I don't know. I mean, it is sadly one of those situations. We'll have to see how it goes. But unfortunately, I don't feel that they are going to actually hear Tory's side of it as much, because I would say if this is not somebody with a huge celebrity status as Meg, would probably get an easy pass to say that the celebrity would get off with it. But barring that she is as status as she is, and she's arguably kind of controversially having a better year than he is right now.
Yeah.
It's not like he's kind of, you know, playing against somebody without weapons on their side. You know what I mean? She's probably got it as just as good as a legal team as he does.
Yeah, that's understandable, because I mean, if it was more of a Drake in the situation, like, right, I think he'd get more of a pass off. But yeah, it's like Tory, like, I don't listen to him as much, but I know he's a great artist and stuff. But like, in my opinion, if you don't have like the representation like she does, yeah, I don't think he's gonna get like a slap on the wrist like that.
No, and honestly, I mean, I could see it being a half thing. I don't believe he's gonna serve 22 years. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, there's been artists in the past that have done much worse and have gotten a basically slap on the wrist. I mean, even dating back to T.I.'s situation back in like 2008, I believe he only served like a handful of months for having unregistered and unlicensed guns on his tour bus.
Yeah.
And even then, I think Lil Wayne got charged like a year, right, for having like a handgun on his tour bus that wasn't his or something like that. So I mean, now bar in mind those two people didn't shoot people, so it's a little different of a situation. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of torn because I'm curious to see what they say in terms of how they feel who's in the right and who's in the wrong.
Yeah.
Because I mean I wouldn't be shocked if they do go the route of, I mean, obviously she did get shot in her foot. I'm just not going to be shocked if Tory tries to kind of deflect it on somebody else, and that he had nothing to do with it. So
yeah, because I think there was only like him, Meg, and her friend or something in the car from what I was told. So
yeah,
I'm pretty interested to see how this is going to go.
Well, in my opinion, and like I said, this is all allegedly. Don't come at me as far as, accusing me of saying slander and shit like that. But I would assume that it's either going to go one or two ways. Either he's going to say he didn't do it, period, and he'll try to deflect it off on somebody else. Or he will likely probably say it was out of self-defense and say that she attacked him or something.
Yeah.
And that they were going to fight because... he doesn't, I mean, based on the way that I'm reading his lyrics and I'm hearing it and I'm seeing how he's kind of handling the situation, I don't believe that he's actually going to take responsibility for it.
I think he'd come out and say more of, like, it was self-defense.
Right.
The more it sounds now, just because, like, no one really knows what happened.
Yeah.
And, like, the friend is defending her, so like no one really knows what's going on. So he's probably just gonna be like, "Oh, I was defending myself against her."
Right. So I had a quick question for you. Do you think after this is all said and done, assuming that he kind of, so to speak, gets the slap on the wrist that this other artist did, and you'll see what direction I'm going with this, but do you feel after this is said and done that he's essentially gonna get the Chris Brown treatment? In terms of, like, because Chris Brown, I mean, still to this day, is, I don't think his career went down the shitter, so to speak, but I think had that whole situation with Rihanna not happened, I think his career definitely would have been much higher in elevation. And, I mean, Tory's kind of in that similar situation where he's not necessarily on top of the game, but he's pretty up there. You know what I mean? I would say he's probably... at least within the top 10, excluding this whole incident before this happens, in terms of intake, good quality in music, and pretty much, I mean, just selling. You know what I mean? Like, he's definitely booming right now. And so, with that, like I said, I mean, with Chris Brown, he definitely didn't see a whole big shift in sales, because Chris usually still sells out. But do you feel that, I mean... his career is going to kind of take that decline in terms of this whole situation, or do you think it'll kind of blow by?
Honestly, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to blow by, especially at the point where it's at right now. So, like, even when he dropped the album, I think his, like, first week sales were, like, 50K.
Yeah.
And, I mean, Chris, he got lucky because he didn't, like, really serve any time or anything for that. But, like,
right.
for Tory, I don't know, I think people are going to hold it against him, especially because by him dropping the album and not explaining what happened during that night, I think people are going to hold that against him. So he's just going to be getting that treatment that Chris got.
Yeah. So, okay, now, I mean, not to try to put you in a pedestal to try and answer for somebody's definite wrongdoings, but if you're in Tory Lanez's shoes right now, what would be the most logical move at this point?
In all honesty, the most logical move is for him to come out and explain what happened. Like, yeah. I understand he's trying to protect his character and all that because he's a celebrity, but, like, you're getting so much slander and everything right now. The best thing to do is talk about what happened that night, because that's the only option right now. Because going to court and stuff, yeah, the judges are most likely not going to be on your side. So
right.
I think the best option, is to actually explain what happened, so everyone could get a whole idea of what really happened. Because I know there's there's too many pieces that's missing, but there needs to be more explanation from his side because Meg already told her story, so
right.
It's time for him to tell his.
Okay, and so now, from the whole situation itself, do you think that there's a little bit of some shit that's not being said? And not necessarily, because, I mean, there definitely is from Tory's side of it. He hasn't really said much about it, other than, obviously, kind of going at her on his track. But, I kind of find it really odd that at first, it almost seemed like Meg wasn't going to say anything. You know what I mean? Like, and then she kind of got, it seemed encouraged and told, like, hey, you need to go kind of, you shouldn't just accept it for what it is. You know what I mean? You should obviously go at this jackass if that's indeed what happened, and go and try to make it, known that you were harmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I'm just kind of, because I'm kind of watching it from all perspectives. In these situations, people tend to like kind of navigate to one side of the story and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, for example, with the whole Chris Brown and Rihanna thing, for almost a decade at hand,
they still give him hate.
People pretty much made him out to be a women abuser, which, I mean, obviously based on the pictures, he obviously roughed her up, but a part of me is kind of like, after a while, I did, heard some stories about even that story, and from what I understand, she also was like attacking him. You know what I mean? And it almost kind of seemed like a very toxic relationship altogether, to where almost both parties kind of seemed like they could have had some share in the blame on that. And I mean, I'm not speaking from encouraging for a man to put his hands on a woman, because I would never endorse that.
Yeah.
But some of these situations tend to present themselves as maybe it's not a one-way street. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, most definitely. With this situation too, like, I'm not on either of their sides.
Yeah.
I really want to see what happens, but I think there's always both people in the wrong for it. So
yeah.
Tory may have done what he did, but also Meg probably could have done something to provoke him to do that. Yeah, so I truly believe there's two parts to it. So there's not always one person in the wrong. I think both people did something to get to where they're at now.
Yeah, to get to where they're at, yeah. I totally get that. And that's why, like, I mean, it sucks because they're two artists that are kind of at the top of their food chains. Maybe Tory not so much, as there are supposed to be some pretty heavy hitters coming out in 2020 still. We're still waiting on J. Cole's album to drop. I believe Drake's supposed to drop.
Where is Kendrick?
Yeah, Kendrick is... I've heard snippets on stuff on Twitter, and it's... usually when that happens and it's legit, it's getting pulled because it actually is what it is. And from some of the snippets that I heard on Twitter, I definitely could see some heat coming from him. I would argue that if the snippet I heard is kind of like the mentality he's going towards on this project, I could see it being album of the year, definitely. And I mean, I speak that into existence because I don't think anyone that would possibly credibly take that thrown away from him in prior, it has been of the likes of like Kanye West or big hip hop moguls that are dropping these iconic albums. And I just, as sad as it sounds, I actually don't have a high ceiling for even his competitor's album, which is J. Cole's. I kind of have a bad feeling that it's going to be a lot like For Your Eyes Truly, where it is very, very political based. And I'm not saying I don't like political based music, especially when it has powerful meaning. But when it turns into who's winning awards and how they're kind of navigating in their respective sales and how it's kind of resonating to the people, sadly, not a lot of people think with that higher mentality. If it doesn't sound great from a production standpoint, then people tend to shelf it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where it's kind of got now in like the past couple of years when it's come to who's number one, Drake, Cole, or Kendrick. And then, like, honestly, I think it's all in the lyrics. Like, I don't think it deals with awards and stuff, because I'm like, Drake can win album of the year a lot, but is his lyrics like showing that it's album of the year quality and stuff?
Right. And so, I mean, okay, so are you more of a J. Cole fan or are you more of a Kendrick fan?
In all honesty, I love Cole, but I'm more of a Kendrick fan.
Yeah. So do you feel okay? So I mean, because I'm the same way. I prefer West Coast rap more than I do East. And it's not all the time. It's just primarily like for lyricists, I definitely look at East Coast. But when I'm looking for a signature sound, I'm looking at West. You know
most definitely.
And I think that's kind of the issue that I'm getting a lot on J. Cole's albums. Is I definitely love the fact that he does solo albums. He doesn't do any features because he wants to kind of showcase his talent as an individual artist. But I think that you're never gonna replicate Forest Hills. You know what I mean? Like you're never gonna make an album like that. It doesn't seem like, because that album was just vintage. You know what I mean? Like there's no way that you actually like do that again. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like it might be interesting to see if he collaborates with artists that are like him. You know what I mean? Are very at the top of their food chain, and they fit his scheme. I mean, they definitely need to at some point kind of clarify whether that project's ever actually going to release the Kendrick and J. Cole project.
I've been waiting on that for a while.
Right. I mean, it's been a long time coming, and I'm hoping one day we see the day of light on that. But like I said, I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's tough because like I think J. Cole is on the cusp of like he's right there to do something really, really big again. You know what I mean? And I felt like if KOD might have been a little longer and it might have been a little better produced, I think it definitely would have had that impact that maybe Forest Hills had. But it couldn't sell to me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I have that like it's too short, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt about like Kanye's Yeezus. It was a great album, but way too short for me. I hate when I have albums that leave me wanting more. And sometimes that's a good thing, but when it comes to EPs, I just genuinely feel like I didn't get what I wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very understandable because there's a lot of artists that would come out with albums and they're just not long enough, and you're sitting here like, well, I want more. And then when they come out with another project, like, you're kind of like, oh, I didn't want this. Like, the last album, like, gave me so much, but I wanted more out of it that sounded the same. But
Right.
I don't know. It's kind of difficult now, especially with artists because they're trying to, like, change the direction of their music each album they go into. So
yeah. Well, so okay, so to kind of go in that direction of artists kind of having that like path that they have to kind of abide by. Recently, me and you actually had a dinner and we were talking about basically the kind of CEO aspects of the music industry right now. With Logic's statements on his situation with Def Jam, which are apparent. From what I understand, he allegedly said that he hasn't gotten paid for one of his projects or something like that, and he's very frustrated with the fact that, and because he's kind of backing Kanye's statements in some of these artists are getting backed into these like slave type contracts. Where they're not seeing what they should be, and they don't have rights to their music that they worked and put sleepless hours into, or sleepless nights into, and just create such great bodies of work to at some point just not be rewarded for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what happened was it's actually his last project. Yeah, that he said he's retiring from, but I don't think he's retiring. But no pressure. So
yeah,
he came out and said that Def Jam hasn't paid any of the artists that were on his album, and like his producers haven't been paid and stuff. So he was showing screenshots and stuff on his Instagram saying that people have been approaching him, especially when he's been at dinner with his family and stuff, saying, oh, what am I going to get the money for the album and stuff. So. Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's so I kind of talked about this previously on a couple episodes, but Kanye's statements, and I don't mean to so much talk about the same artists, continuously, but Kanye's got some. This could change the wave of hip hop, assuming he sadly isn't made a martyr out of it, because typically when you get these artists that are speaking for wanting to get other artists more educated, they typically are silenced by scandals or crazy stuff like that. So, I mean, he's onto something here. You know what I mean? Like, normally it's rare for me to say that about Kanye, because usually I'm just like, this man's losing his damn mind.
Yeah, that's
But, like, he's got some... And he still even says some crazy shit on Twitter, and it's like... Sometimes I have to take it with a grain of salt. But, like... He's got something that I understand. You know what I mean? And especially after the whole Jay-Z situation with him.
Yeah.
Have you actually heard about that situation?
Yeah, the whole situation is just crazy as hell. But look, I know Kanye says like some of the craziest shit ever, but like if you think about some of the shit he says, you're just like, well, I didn't think about it like that. Yeah. And like he actually says like, even though he gets in the drama with the Kardashians and shit, that's a whole different conversation. Like he actually tells like some true stories on shit, especially when it comes to artists. Like he just wants to see everybody win.
Right. Yeah, and seeing, I don't know. Kanye's such an interesting person.
Yeah.
Because he knows exactly what buttons to push to piss people off. But he also gets his message across. Sometimes it doesn't get across the way that it was intended to, but for the most part, I mean, he has everybody's attention now. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, due to his even contractual issues with I think it's Sony and Universal, he's refusing to put out music until his contract's expired. So I don't know any details on that contract, but that could be unfortunate if he definitely plans to expose some of the industry like that. And he's not able to put it out until contract's up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I am curious to see what he does, because he kind of in one breath will say that he wants to fix relationships with people that he's had beef with, and then in another breath he's demanding apologies from them, which, I mean...
The whole Drake situation.
Yeah, I mean, like, so the thing that drew the most interest to me, and it's because... that album was so iconic in his career and even the other person's career, that I am genuinely interested to see if we ever could see Watch the Throne 2. It would be such a symbolic album in terms of their brotherhood. Barring the situations they've gone through, every circumstance that we've seen over the last couple of decades, in terms of what, how they've kind of coexisted as artists. But in terms of an album that could just skyrocket, do you feel that it's more of a myth, or do you think it could come to fact that could definitely happen?
I mean, at this point, I don't think it's gonna happen at this point. I mean, Jay-Z's more focused on the business side of itself now. Like, he's had his career making music and stuff, but as you can see now, like, he's like the head honcho of Puma. He's over here doing stuff with the NFL. Like, I think he's just
Rock Nation, all that stuff.
All that. Like, he's just trying to be a huge mogul. So I think he's more focused on the business side of like making money and collabing with people. Than making music. So I at this point, I don't think I can see it happening.
I mean, it is kind of a shot in the dark. It definitely doesn't seem likely, but I could say that crazier things have happened. But it's tough with me because Kanye was also saying that he was doing a collaboration album with Dr. Dre back on Easter. And obviously that never happened. So it's tough for me to buy stuff. I mean, even for the longest time when he had that before that beef with Drake and Pusha T. He had that Yandhi album that was supposed to come out too, and that never came out. And then we had Jesus is King come out, and nothing else since then, really. He had that track with Travis Scott that just recently released, and that actually was pretty good. But like I said, there's just not anything I'm having a high ceiling for coming out soon. I kind of talked about this previously on the last on season 1's finale. I honestly have a bad feeling we may not see a whole lot more music coming from Kanye, because it seems that he's kind of de-evolving into that kind of... Artists get into this slump where they are trying to replicate too much of what they used to do and trying to make it into a new sound. and it seems like it's not working for him. Not in my eyes, anyway. I just it genuinely seems like there's a huge drop off from I would say probably Yeezus and the Dark Twisted Fantasy type albums to what he's putting out now.
Yeah, that's a lot of artists now. Because even when we had dinner the other day, I kind of made that case about Logic 2. Because I remember when I was in middle school and stuff, like he was coming out with these fire ass mixtapes and stuff, and then when he got signed onto the label, his first like 2 albums, they became great, and then like once the third one came out, it was like repetitive and just like fell off, and a lot of people was just like, well, he's corny and I don't really like him no more. So I mean, I can see that happening with like a lot of artists too. So
I'm not gonna lie, I was never really the biggest Logic fan. I had a couple albums that I appreciated, but they weren't like anything that I like put into my top 10, because I have a top 10 almost done top 10 list of 2019. So I'm actually kind of crazy. I listen to every project from a year before I do my whole 2019 list. And I mean, it's crazy on how much I put effort and emphasis into it. I grade every single album based on the artistry of it, the lyricism of it, you know, basically flow, continuity. And I mean, it's broken into like 5 to 6 categories. And like, I really do my homework on these albums. And so like it genuinely, like, I haven't had a Logic one really pop for me. You know? Like, and it's not necessarily that he's not talented, because he is. But it just kind of seems like some of the work kind of gets repetitive. Yeah, very repetitive. And you can definitely see that the CEO's kind of getting a hand into what he's doing, and it kind of rubs off like you keep putting out the same material. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of the same issue that I've had with YG of recently. Is I'm just getting the same album. You know what I mean? And I'm like the first ones are always great, and then like it turns into you're trying to do it over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Everyone understands you make this music, and you're
Now a big kind of industry cat, because he is. I mean, his music obviously is not really. It's not so much cognitive as it is. It sounds great. But a big shout out to 21 Savage with his recent album. Was really, really good, I thought. I liked it. It was different. It was definitely switched up from what he normally does. And that's what I appreciate from artists. You know what I mean? I don't like when I'm getting the same damn thing. You know what I mean? Like, it gets too much for me. So, I mean, have you heard 21's new album?
Savage Mode 2. I loved it. Shout out Morgan Freeman. Like, Morgan Freeman being on that was just like gold. Like, I was very hyped because like Morgan Freeman, he's like one of my favorite actors, and like for him to be on there with 21 and he's just sitting there cussing and shit, like talking about snitches and shit, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that's some dope ass shit. So I was hyped. Like 21 Metro Boomin, like when they collaborate, you know it's gonna be good. So I actually love the album.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a question for you. Do you like Dr. Dre as an artist / producer?
In my opinion, I think that Dr. Dre is better as a producer than an artist. Like, don't get me wrong, he has great music, but I think from a producer standpoint, I think he's way better.
So, I mean, I'm kind of speaking, like, from his bodies of albums. Like, do you have appreciation for, like, The Chronic and The Chronic 2?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so I have a question for you. What would you rather see in your lifetime? Would you rather see him drop Detox, which is technically The Chronic 3, or would you rather see Watch the Throne 2 happen?
That's actually a good one. I don't know, because I remember watching the show where he is talking about Detox, and I'm just like, do you really want it out? Because when he dropped his last album, I was just like, this isn't really, isn't Dr. Dre. So I'm just like, I say Watch the Throne 2, because I love Dre and all, but like after the last album, I'm just like, that's not really like the Dre I'm accustomed to. So, but he did have a good track on there with Anderson .Paak and Kendrick. Deep Water, that was great.
I talk about that track all the time, dude. If you ask my friends, I literally like will play that track, and a lot of them will ask me, like, what was that? You know what I mean? I'm like, y'all don't even. I mean, you all slept on this in 2015, man. Like,
when it came out, it was like,
I mean, it was some heat, man. I mean, and I was put onto that album a little more so from just me at that time getting caught up with other artists at that time, and I didn't necessarily miss the wave, but I can definitely say I had a larger appreciation for that album as time progressed and as it aged, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a classic to me. It was one of those, like, interesting, you know? Like, I kind of felt like it was dope in its own sense. It wasn't dope in the sense of, like, it needs to be diamond, you know, or anything like that in terms of charting and whatnot. But it could have had a higher ceiling, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really could have.
I think if he would have went in more of an actual, like, wanting to put it out as much as he wanted to put out his other music, and it could have definitely generated better.
Yeah.
But it just genuinely seemed like it was more aimed towards the movie, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of sounded more... It is exactly what it was supposed to be. It was a soundtrack.
Yeah,
you know
for
I mean?
the
Like,
movie.
Yeah. And, like, I mean, but it sucks because, like, not that the project sucks, but I'm saying, like, it sucks because, like, I watched kind of Kendrick Lamar do the Black Panther soundtrack, and that was pretty much an album. I felt like it was an album.
Yeah, it was good.
You know what I mean? Like, and it fit so well into... It almost kind of was, like, one of those albums that the album had, like, the movie had to fit the album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you could tell with Compton, it was like Compton had to fit the movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was some kind of pulled punches where I think he could have brought in other artists to that maybe might have made a difference, you know?
It made it, like, a little bit more old school since it was dealing with...
So now that we're kind of on Dr. Dre, if he ever dropped Detox, would you rather him, with his features, would you rather him utilize newer artists, or would you rather him utilize artists of the past?
See, that's a touchy one, because if he utilizes artists of now, he has Anderson .Paak and he can go to Kendrick. But I think it'd be kind of cool, though, at the same time for him to use old school artists, because I would want to hear, like, Eminem and 50 Cent on a track. So, like, it's like 50-50. And then he can also add Snoop. So, like, it's a tough one. Like.
See, the artists that, like, of old that are still pretty solid in terms of what they can do. Ice Cube's definitely still up there.
Yes.
He's not putting out classics like he used to, but he's still putting out good music. I like that last album that he had in, I think it was 2018. I think it was Everything's Corrupt or something like that.
I think so. Yeah, something like that.
I remember a couple of tracks on there. I actually have a lot of that on my playlist, and it was a pretty slept-on album but it was the same year that Victory Lap came out, and all those albums were popping. I mean, it was hard. I would say it's hard for someone that's as old as he is now to generate a top 10 album that's recognized the top 10. You know what I mean? For as much as good music is coming out.
Yeah.
Now, another artist is, like you were saying, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's another one of those guys that's still pretty relevant to music today. He doesn't put out as much as he used to in the regard of you're not getting an album essentially every year. But he does pop up here and there. You know, he's kind of a big media person, or not a media, but like more of like a public person, you know, in terms of he just pops up everywhere.
Yeah, he's more on Instagram talking about Danny Green missing all them games.
He's funny as shit, dude. His Instagram's funny as hell, man. He literally will just talk about anything and everything, even if it doesn't seem like he's that educated in it, you know, like he just still puts his input in. Almost kind of like Michael Rappaport, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he just has something to say, and it's funny as shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, Michael Rappaport, that man is just gold, especially when it comes to like him talking about Donald Trump. Like, he always has something to say about him.
You ever seen the shit with that he's like talking about the cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's fucking hilarious. Blink, you motherfucker. I love that shit, man. And you know, honestly, that's why I like the hip hop thing, man. In terms of it just, people don't ever fade away. You know what I mean? Like, everyone kind of stays pretty well knit in it. There's some, and even then, like, you still get some artists that are still making good music to this day. But to kind of go back into Detox a little bit, if we ever got that album, and Eminem's another one of those artists that are still, you know, obviously, you know, putting out music just about yearly at this point. His music's kind of hitting a weird incline/decline. Like, he's still inclining in terms of he's pulling sales, but he's declining in the sense of it's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
You know? And I think it's, for me, I've said this in the past, but it definitely is it's too mainstream for me.
Yeah.
The beat selection is. The bars still hit. Like, if they were on more classic beats, and Dr. Dre, it seemed like, was more helming the production behind it, I think it would still pop like it used to. But the shock rap beats that he's using, it's not resonating for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't hit as hard as it used to. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it gets better, but it just, for me, it kind of, I still have an appreciation for him as a lyricist, you know, but it's just tough because even with his last one he put out, I don't know how much of Dr. Dre's hand he had in it, but it's still missing that little bit of something. You know what I mean? And then he hinted at that's kind of like going full circle in terms of the 50 Cent track, because they were supposed to do one, and it was supposed to be on Music to Be Murdered By, but it never showed up. So everyone's kind of curious to, like, it obviously got recorded because 50 said it was done and that they had hit the studio. So we're like,
everybody's like, where the hell is it at?
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and honestly, man, Music to Be Murdered By might have been a solid album, even more so if they had that classic track on there. I think it might have, I don't know. Sometimes you have those albums where one track kind of sets the pace for the rest of the album, and sometimes you ignore the throwaway tracks because of how good the previous tracks were.
Yeah, you're
you know
like,
I mean? Yeah, I still got a lot. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the kid that goes to the first house and takes the whole bowl of candy, and then, like, he goes to every other house and doesn't get as much candy, but you still got that big ass bowl.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's now with the Watch the Throne 2 thing, I'm kind of nervous for it if it ever did see the day of light, because Jay-Z and Kanye are definitely on two different avenues for music nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, even more so Kanye. I mean, Jay-Z's still pretty, like, he's kept the same flow. I think the only time he's really ever shifted out of that was probably around his, I would say his 444 days. But, and that is his most recent project if you don't count the Pharrell track that he had in 2020.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm kind of hoping that they do something down the road. I mean, at least one more time for old time's sake, you know?
Yeah, because Kanye's at the point where he's like being holy now, so.
Yeah, so okay, so did you hear the track with him and Travis Scott?
I have not. I'm going to have to check it out.
He's still kind of going the whole clean route.
Ah.
And so I'm kind of like, I don't know how I feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's good because you could play it around people and people don't get offended by it so much, but it just kind of...
It's like, it doesn't resonate, yeah.
It's kind of like that SpongeBob thing where it's like the sentence enhancers. You know what I mean? Like, it just, to me, I'm like, yeah. I need a little something to it. When I'm thinking of rap, I typically don't play a whole lot of clean rap, you know? I think in terms of groups that have a good sound, and this is even their early days, like the Black Eyed Peas early music I appreciated because it wasn't too, like, vulgar, but it was pretty good. You know what I mean? In terms of its production and its sound. You know what I mean? It almost kind of like that Will Smith type deal where you didn't have to cuss to sell records, you know?
That's where a lot of people get him in his downfall too, because they're just like, he's a great artist, but he's not swearing. So
right.
That's where people like that they hold that against him. So
to kind of go back to a previous track that was released I think it was sometime this year, and the remix might have been sent over this summer.
Yeah. Did
you listen to the Joyner Lucas track with him and Will?
Yeah, I listened to it.
So did you like it?
I thought it was pretty good. He was spitting bars, but
yeah.
Like I said, like a lot of people hold him back for, like every time you rap, you don't say any cuss words or anything. But I think it was a pretty good track in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, so here in sometime during season 2, I'm gonna have my dad come in because he kind of grew up in that era of rap where it was he witnessed it from before it had like a whole lot of like cuss words in it, and then where he witnessed it kind of like transfer over to gangster rap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and it had that like flame switch. You know what I mean? Like he's actually pretty knowledgeable when it comes to music in terms of the old days, and I typically will, when I'm talking about artists today, well, you know, have him help me do my homework sometimes, you know, in terms of like understanding what it used to be like, you know, and how artists have changed today. And a big kind of what he's kind of, are you kind of familiar with the rock genre?
Yeah.
So he's kind of comparing it more so like today's rap music is kind of comparable to like what air bands used to be back then. So it's kind of like you had that like hard classic rap throughout the 80s, 90s and so on and so forth, and then it kind of we're in this like weird phase where it's still rock or it's still rap, but it's kind of in this like weird state. You know what I mean? Like where you don't have as many lyricists as you used to.
Yeah, and they're taking like different approaches to making music. Like there's meme rap and all that.
Well, and unfortunately, as sad as it sounds, and I don't like to critique people and say people are stupid, but you do have a lot of ill-educated artists nowadays that are getting suckered into these contracts that they're just pretty much like, they're puppets. You know what I mean? Like, they're getting told what they need to put into an album, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like, end of story, And it's sad because there's a lot of artists that I feel that don't get recognition that do the right way and are smart enough to actually try to get a hold of their masters and actually hold all of their music to their own rights.
Badman, Joey Badass.
Right. And they don't get recognition for it. Like, exactly, Joey Badass is one of those artists that does it his way and doesn't have to kind of, so to speak, go on a marketing scheme that he was told to do, and he just puts out quality music. But when was the last time you heard people saying over say, someone that's popping that year, like over a Cardi B or over someone like that, where they're, oh yeah, did you hear Joey Badass's new album? It's sad that we don't get that. You know what I mean? Like, we don't get people that are actually like, we need to go check this out. This is good for the culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's more people out here saying, I'll be like, you hear that? There's more people saying you hear that Tekashi track, but no one's talking about Joey. Like, Joey is so underrated, and like it hurts because like I feel like people should appreciate him more because like he's speaking about some true shit, and like he's doing it on his own terms. Like he's not listening to like these labels telling him, oh, you got to do this and that. Like there's a lot of new rappers out here. They'll make like one song and become a puppet, and like they'll not come out with any more good content, and they're just trying to live off of that.
Yeah, and you get into that like one-hit wonder deals where people are just trying to get rich at this point. You know what I mean? And like I understand that some people want to get out of that struggle and they want to just make their millions and get out. Some people have done that. I mean, it happens, but I just miss the days where it was like you had more passion in music. You know what I mean? Like where you had people that were actually trying to make a movement. You know what I mean? Or speak something that needs to be spoken into existence. And you still do have that, but it's not as common as it used to be. You know what I mean? And I'm not one of those old head types where I'm like, oh, someone needs to be the next Tupac. I'm not saying that. Yeah. You'll never replicate that. That's just too classic of an artist and too classic at that time for those artists. Their signatures to their decades were signature to them. You'll never replicate that again.
Yeah.
But I do miss the days when we had a little more of a, everyone was trying to one-up the other. Almost like a competition. I mean, back when Kendrick dropped Control, he definitely was trying to make that happen. You know what I mean? He was like, you know what? Like, I love all y'all. We're all in this little hip-hop family, and we all collab with one another, and we respect each other's artwork and profession. But I want y'all to try and beat me. You
exactly.
Like, I want y'all to keep up with me. Because what I'm doing is trying to create the path for the new wave. You know what I mean? Like, I'm almost kind of, so to speak, he's already, like, he's going down the road. You know what I mean? He's thinking down 20 years from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of artists are kind of just in the moment. You know what I mean? Like, they're just too wrapped up in it. They're not thinking down the road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just trying to get a quick buck for what it is now.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about when he dropped Control. Like, there was a lot of people that were upset from what he said, but there was like artists like ASAP and stuff like saying that he's glad that they dropped that because it makes it more competitive. When it's more competitive, like everyone gives like their 100%. When it's not competitive, like you can just see artists be like, oh well, I can make a halfway decent track and I'll be satisfied with it.
Right. And see, and that's the thing is it's I don't know, like I mean, you can call me old-fashioned. I mean, I miss that day and age of, like I said, everyone's trying to compete. You know what I mean? Like, I like when I see healthy competition, when it doesn't have to be someone getting killed or shot or going to court cases or having to, going away from hip hop. You know what I mean? I like that competition aspect of it.
Yeah, I don't like the internet beef that we have nowadays.
Well, it's
like
too toxic.
It's very toxic. And there's a lot of just clout chasing. I like to see, like, back in the day when there's diss tracks coming out and shit, like Biggie and Tupac were trying to come at each other's heads. Like, I want to see that more in music, and not you on Instagram be like, oh yeah, I fucked your bitch and whatever, and y'all hanging out with his bitch, and like, nah, I want to see you competitively go after each other in a song.
Yeah. I mean, you have the platform to do it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's different when it's like maybe you're not as popular. Like, okay, so I don't really get targeted for it, but it sounds hypocritical when I say that, but I don't like when people beef in my own city.
Yeah.
But I like watching people that are as professionals that are using their platform to kind of go at each other talently, or in regard of what they can do.
Yeah, especially here, like, I think Colorado is like...
And I'm not gonna lie, like, I would be okay with the beefs here if people weren't so quick to, like, oh, let's meet up and fight, you know what I mean? Or, like, at a concert, we have to, like, go beat the shit out of each other, or someone's got to pull a gun on somebody, or it has to be, like, trying to go extra, you know what I mean? Like, I would be cool with if someone sent a shot or something like that, and just kind of, like, we got, like, a little good exchange, and it was healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the problem where we're at now. I think with Colorado, the issue is, like, it's like the whole idea of crabs in the bucket, trying to make your way to the top, and, like, you're over here not supporting each other. Like, you're pushing each other down. Like, we can have so many successful artists if people were willing to work with each other and not be hating on each other.
Yeah.
But everyone is so quick to hate on each other because they see someone else succeeding. Like, I've always been told, if you see somebody doing better than you, just wait, your time's gonna come.
Right.
So,
and that's I mean that's how I felt about a lot, even like with something as small as this platform. I've had a handful of podcasts that have reached out, and I've had people ask me how to start one.
Yeah.
And I'm like not one of those dicks where I'm like, oh, go look it up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, hey, this is how you do it. Like, I mean, I'm not, I don't have the biggest podcast in the world, but, like, I'm not afraid to help my friends out. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be all love.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and, obviously, if you're working for something, you want to make your bang for what you're working hard for your buck. But at the same token, it's not all about the money. You know what I mean? It's wanting to help one another, because if somebody pops, they're going to remember that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's exactly how I treat even my guests. I've had people have stuff come up where they can't make it in the studio. I don't have some sort of, like, oh, you have to pay to be on my show. You know what I mean? Like, if you can't make it, I understand. Yeah. Life happens.
Like, everyone has a life.
And that's exactly just how I am. You know what I mean? Like, I'll always find a way to put episodes together if I need to, or if something comes up or whatever, but, like, it's all out of love. You know what I mean? You have to be that way. Yeah,
that's one big issue, I think, with a lot of people now. They're not really humble. So I come from a background where, like, my mom told me, like, you got to work hard for your shit, because there's never going to be an easy path, especially because of the color of my skin. So I'm just like, I was humbled enough to know that I came from not having shit, so I had to find a way to make it and say that I'm proud of myself, because I don't want to be raising my children when I have them like my mom had to raise me. Like, not many people get that.
Right. So now that we're kind of on the Colorado channel for artists, is there an artist in particular that you have a lot of love for?
Shout out to my boy Alizé. Bangers. And D-Town Jr., that's my cousin right there. I love that man to death. Very good artist. They don't really get a lot of recognition, but I love them.
Yeah.
To the T.
Yeah, one of my favorite artists that is coming up right now, and actually I'm getting ready to have him on next weekend, is Major Leak. Pretty solid artist. His name on Facebook is Malik.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce his name, and I won't, because I always butcher names and I don't want to say it wrong. But yeah, really good artist, and he has a lot of diversity to his music, and I'm definitely excited to have him in studio and just kind of talk. he's very interesting as a person. You know what I mean? He's definitely one of those guys where you can tell he puts the emphasis into his music, and he has hard work to his craft. You know what I mean? Like, he's always trying to find a way to tweak his sound and make it sound better. You know what I mean? So also my buddy Hiatus is also doing some stuff out there. Definitely go check out his music.
Most definitely.
Yeah, there a lot of great artists, man. Even my cousin back here, we've talked a lot of his music too, and he's another one of those great artists and producers in the state, and very proud of him. So
it only goes up from here.
Right? Yeah. Honestly, man, in rare times I've ever been super excited to see what my city's gonna do in the next 5 years.
Exactly.
I'm very, very excited to see what the ceiling looks like here soon.
Exactly, because we're growing so much. Like, we can only go up more. Like, I'm excited. Like, I don't know. We'll just have to see. Because, like, the city's growing. Like, there's more and more artists coming out and stuff. So that gives everybody an opportunity. They just gotta take it and run with it. Like, like I said, stop all the hate and shit.
Right. Well, it gets corny at some point.
You know what
I mean? Like, it just kind of like, no one here right now has that like label just to be throwing dirt on anybody. You know what I mean? Like, we're all trying to get our own. You know what I mean? Like, and it only works if there's teamwork involved.
Exactly.
I mean, unless you're somebody that is just destined to be the guy, and you have that craft to you. And even then, like, obviously you would know that you're that person right now if you had that for you right now. So we just got to stay well knit as a community and stay up and continue to keep pushing for what's the goal. You know what I mean? And what's important. You know what I mean? That's just how I feel. I mean, it sounds, like I said, it sounds corny when I say, love and peace and stuff, but it's real. You know what I mean?
It's true.
And it's just like, I'm all good for the, like, publicity is good, I mean, they say, like, good or bad publicity is good publicity, but, like, to an extent, like, you don't want to make an ass of yourself because you are hard to work with, or you feel that you're maybe something you're not at the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I have seen that in artists in the state, and a lot of those ones I don't really affiliate with, and more importantly, like, they've reached out to come onto the show, and I'm just like, not that I'm one to pick and choose so much my hosts in terms of or my guests in terms of I snub people, because I don't. But when you're an asshole, I'm not gonna have you on here.
Yeah.
I mean, like, when you're somebody that treats people shitty, I don't feed into that. Because much less, I'm very direct. Like,
yeah.
I haven't had it happen, and I hope I don't in the future, but, like, I'm not necessarily an abrasive person, but I'm very outspoken. So, like, if I get the hint that you're just a piece of shit person, then I'm not gonna, like, I mean, if anything, I'm gonna go back and forth with you on shit that, like, it's keeping it real. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna just pretend I like you because you're on my show.
Yeah.
If you say, not necessarily if you say some dumb shit, because everyone says dumb shit, but if you just don't carry yourself in the right way, or that's respectable anyway, at least.
Yeah, respect is earned, not given.
Right.
So.
Right. So, in terms of just to kind of get to know you as a person, because I mean, we've pretty much met, like, in the athletic department, and we've kind of gotten acquainted in that way. And it's actually funny, we kind of have, like, connections, because your cousin's Tiara, and so I had a question for you. Are you related to PJ?
I don't think so. So, like, how me and it's crazy. Cause
right. Because, see, like, okay, so to kind of give you retrospect, so I grew up, like, pretty much from, like, when I was a freshman in high school, maybe, like, even a sophomore. I knew PJ since then.
Oh.
So, like, and then, like, I found out that Tiara was his cousin, and I was like, oh. And then, like, I found out you were related to Tiara, so I was like, oh, shit. You know what I mean? Kind of like a small world thing.
Yeah, so I met her, like, probably like 2000. It was like
a long time ago.
7 maybe.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. So my mom had dated. She started dating my stepdad, which was her cousin, and what ends up happening, they got married in 2009.
Yeah.
I end up getting another sibling, so
like,
we've been close ever since. Like,
okay.
I was just at her house like 2 weeks ago too, just hanging out.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's my fam right there.
That's cool.
Like, I don't know. I love them. Like, they brought us in and just, like, gave us all love.
Yeah.
So I treat them like my family, too, because, I mean, they pretty much my family because my little brother, so.
Right. That's cool, man. That's dope. And, I mean, I just connect the strings because that's just a small world. You know
then you told me, I was like, oh, shit, like, that's crazy. Like, right? What the hell?
Yeah. I mean, and it's funny because, like, I've known their whole family for some time. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a while, so. It's like I said, small world, man.
Small world. Colorado is just too small.
So to kind of talk about some hometown stuff that's going on, our Broncos are not in great shape right now. In regard to, we more than likely won't have this episode quite out before the game on Monday. But I'm assuming Cam's probably not gonna play due to coronavirus. So, if what do you think about that game? You gotta make sure you hit it right on the nose though, because it's gonna air after. I had to make apologies before because so funny story. If you've gone through some of season one, which it sounds like you've seen some of it, I had to apologize because I counted the Nuggets out like in that very first Jazz series when they were down 3-1, and obviously they went to the Western Conference Finals. So, I got a little heat for that one.
I love my Broncos.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Broncos fan. I'm not gonna count them out. Like, if Cam's not playing, I think that's better for us because
anything can happen.
Anything can happen. So I feel confident. Like, if we could play how we played last week on offense, I think we can get points on the board. We just got to get the run game running. And our receivers got to make big plays because, as you see, Jerry Jeudy, he made an excellent play last week. Like, I don't even know how that happened. Like, the ball was underthrown. He somehow snagged it and just, like, did the stare down.
I watched that highlight, and I still am like, how the hell did he get that?
I don't understand it. Yeah, and then Tim Patrick had his first 100-yard game. Like, if we could do that, and also create pressure on defense and stuff, like, I think we can honestly beat them. Like, I don't see why not. I know they have a great defense, but they're missing their quarterback. So
right.
And Cam is the real deal. Like, it kind of makes it's sad that he got signed to a 1-year deal.
I think so assuming they don't end up with the first pick, because that probably isn't going to happen now with them sitting at, like, what are they, 2-2 or something like that. I think they've. I don't know. I have to fact check that one because they definitely seemed like they were playing more better ball than I expected them to. I'm not gonna lie. Without Tom Brady, I kind of felt like they weren't gonna be so, I guess, elite. You know?
Yeah, that's what I had thought too. I'm like, oh well, Brady's gone. Like, they're done, but Bill Belichick is a great coach. Like, I don't think a lot of people give him credit like they should.
Yeah, they're
but like, for him to actually not be struggling, like, they're playing great. Like, you can see what Brady's doing in Tampa Bay, and you're like, maybe he should have stayed in New England. But
now that we're on that track, do you feel that the Brady situation in Tampa Bay is comparable to when Jordan was playing for the Wizards? Do you think that we're at that part of Brady now?
At this point, I don't want to count him out, but I think Brady's time is pretty much done. Like, he's done everything he's needed to do.
Yeah.
From a standpoint, like.
And honestly, like, I was expecting him to have fun in Tampa.
Yeah.
He genuinely looks pissed.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he's frustrated. Like, this isn't what he thought was going to happen. I mean, I called it. I mean, people were giving me shit for the longest time because I'm like, it's an experiment that is going to explode. And people were like, nah, it'll be fine. Bruce Arians, like, they have a good defense. And honestly, like, they were getting shit done even with Jameis Winston there. And they were still being competitive. They just were causing too many turnovers and shit. And he was a turnover machine. And it's like, what you don't understand about Jameis Winston, whether call it how you want it, but he was still explosive.
He threw 30 touchdowns.
Right. Like, he was still... Yeah, he could have done better in terms of not turning over the ball. But if you take away a lot of those turnovers, and he's a top 3 quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's up there with most of these greats. And not in terms of all time, but like, you know, in terms of the league now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He just made a lot of bad decisions when it came to like throwing the ball, but
right.
Yeah, I think Brady's done everything he's needed to do. Like, if you ask me, he's gonna go down as number one. Like, I love Peyton, but I don't know. I don't even think it's the ring debate with me because they've both shown they're very elite quarterbacks, and they're both first ballot Hall of Famers. But he's done pretty much everything he's needed to do.
Yeah.
To basically be the GOAT. So.
Yeah. Okay, so what about, how do you feel about this argument? Do you feel that, okay, so I this is something I'm going to bring up later with a couple of people that can argue the shit out of this argument. And it's the LeBron versus Jordan argument. Do you feel that it is wrong to say that LeBron is the GOAT over Jordan because rings don't matter, right? But can you say that in the same breath and not say that Manning would technically be the GOAT because rings don't matter?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a touchy situation.
Right. And see, people get pissed. Like, I literally have people that go cross-eyed because they're the same people that'll tell me that Brady's the GOAT, but then tell me that LeBron's the GOAT.
Yeah, and then I don't know, the whole GOAT situation. Like, I don't understand why people like argue on it, especially when it comes to rings. Because like, if people wanted to be technical, you could be like, "Oh, well, Bill Russell has 11." So it's a touchy subject. Like, I love Michael Jordan. I didn't get to watch his era of basketball. Because I wasn't born yet, obviously. But if you ask me, I think LeBron's a better all-around player than Jordan was.
If I'm gonna be really honest, dude, like my chain of 1 through 3, it actually goes Jordan, Kobe, and then LeBron for me. I genuinely watched Kobe just dismantle teams.
Yeah, Kobe
I
was.
mean, he was my Jordan.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, that was the closest thing I got to Jordan, to seeing somebody that intense play live. I mean, and I watched it firsthand because I watched him pretty much destroy my fucking team in the finals. You know what I mean? Like, and even then, before then, he was kicking their ass in the playoffs altogether. You know what I mean? Like, we did not see the Lakers, period. You
exactly.
know what I mean? Like, and even then, like, I think even back in that 08 series, where we probably should have gotten a ring had we not seen Kobe, but he was just so takeover. You know what I mean? Like, he just took over immediately, and there was no drop off. You know what I mean? Like, and it just felt like, oh, wow, you know, I just witnessed that. You know what I mean? Whereas, I'm not gonna lie, like, I have a lot of love and appreciation for LeBron, but I don't know. I guess it's because I'm a bigger, like, one of those, like, I love to see the guy take over. You know what I mean? Like, even for me, it broke my heart because I watched Kobe throw daggers at us. You know what I mean? Like, to the Nuggets perspective. And I just didn't see that in this, even in the series against the Nuggets. I didn't see daggers, you know, like, so to speak. Like, it was coming out of his hand and he's calling game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This didn't feel like that to me. And I know that he's older, and I know that that's a big factor in terms of his gameplay now and his approach towards the Lakers. But, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a bittersweet for me because, like, they're kind of comparing it, like, this is the last time since 2010 that they've won a finals, you know, like, and they're pretty much bound and it's for Kobe. And, like, I'm all for that movement and I love that. But for me, like, Kobe was just different.
Yeah,
you know
Kobe.
What I mean? Like, I watched the man do it himself. You know what I mean? Like, for the most part. I mean, he did have help, and we're not going to say he didn't, because he did. But Kobe was the it factor.
Exactly.
Like, he was the guy you couldn't scout even if you wanted to try and scout him.
You know what I mean? And he was he was very motivated too after Shaq left, because a lot of people thought he couldn't do it by himself, and then he just had that mentality, like, fucking dropping 81 on the Raptors. Like, who would have seen that shit happen? Like, he had a point to prove because a lot of people were underestimating him, and like, he went out and did what he needed to do because, like, even from watching the Bulls documentary and stuff when it came out this summer, like, even Jordan was like telling him and giving him like motivation and stuff, like, you need to do this and shit, like, if you want to consider yourself being the best. So, like, he took that and fucking just unleashed on everyone. And then, like, you could see in a lot of players now of Kobe. Like, you can see it in Devin Booker, like Kyrie. Like, oh, my Lord.
The family tree for who Kobe inspired will live on forever.
Yes.
I mean, it hurts my heart because I don't think it really trickled so much into the female league. Because I think he was definitely going to make the WNBA almost as popular as the NBA. He was trying to do that, and I think his daughter was definitely going to do that.
Yeah.
So
Sabrina Ionescu, too. Like, baller.
Yeah. And, I mean, it's crazy, man. I genuinely love the fact that, you know, he left such a legacy behind that it will never be forgotten. You know what I mean? Like, it hurts my heart that he's not here anymore, because I definitely would have wanted to see him watch
his daughter play.
Yeah, watch his daughter play, and even with the Lakers now, watch them possibly go get a ring here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy as hell because I think after all that, a lot of people started paying more attention to women's basketball too. Yeah. Like, it's crazy because I've been watching women's basketball for a crazy amount of years, and like, it's crazy how much people don't give appreciation to like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird, and I'm like, these are like OGs, like learning from Kobe and LeBron, just like killing people. Like, it's crazy, especially like Breanna Stewart too, baller. Like, women in the NBA don't get or WNBA, they don't get appreciation like they should.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, like I coach girls basketball, and it definitely changed my perspective on girls basketball forever. You know what I mean? Like I guess I never was really exposed to it, you know, as a kid, because I just, you know, you never really. I don't have any sisters. Yeah. So I never really related to girls sports altogether. I mean, I was pretty familiar with the softball realm of it, but that was kind of the closest I got to it. You know what I mean? I've had like female football players play on my team, and some of the hardest hitters I honestly sometimes saw. And even, you know, in baseball, until they kind of branch out into softball, you play with girls all the time and stuff like that. And but basketball wasn't one of those things where I ever really saw them. And when you see it at that level, it's such a different level of commitment. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a, like, it's passionate. You know what I mean? Like, they're doing it for more than just sometimes, and not that the guys do it all the time for that, but sometimes it's a little ego fed. You know what I mean? Like, it's a little for themselves sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, but like at the youngest level that I've seen it, for the girls in middle school, for me, they're doing it because they love the sport. You know what I mean?
I could make the same argument about that when it comes to soccer too, because I have this debate with a lot of people too, but they don't understand, like, when it comes to like the U.S. women's national team for soccer, they put more heart and dedication into playing compared to the men, and they don't get paid for it. Like, I understand soccer is very hard, especially because for men, like, you're playing against Ronaldo, Messi.
Yeah, my brother's girlfriend actually plays in junior college for soccer, and she actually just got announced being the captain for that team. So I know exactly that grind. I mean,
yeah, it's a grind.
Anytime she comes back home in the state, dude, she's covered in bruises, and it's just literally like, you know, ice up and get back out there. You know what I mean?
And it's crazy because like the women, there you have 4 World Cups now, I think, and like they're risking everything to represent their country and like prove they're great soccer players, and like they're being underappreciated. They're not getting paid like they should. Like, it's crazy. Like, not a lot of people give respect to women, but I especially do. Like, I'm not trying to sound like a simp or nothing, but like they do their hard work and dedication into these sports, and not many people understand that.
So it's kind of crazy that we talk about Kobe and we talk about girls sports, because it hits home for me. When Kobe passed away, I was in the middle of the season that I was coaching for my girls team, and I just remember the day, the next practice after. It was literally just, the vibe was different. Like, we didn't even, we literally took a 24-second moment of silence before we went to practice, and nobody even questioned it or thought like, why are we doing this? You know, I don't even know who the hell Kobe Bryant is. And like, they all knew, like, just that passion for the game.
He had that impact, like,
and you can tell in each and every one of them, they had that, like, it's like a hero passed away. You know what I mean? Like, and it's for somebody that cares for the game that much, you recognize when heroes are gone, you know? And I mean, like I said, I mean, I have the video on my Facebook, and we did that for one of our games, and they literally wanted to, and we kind of took a team vote, and we added it, because our colors are purple, as is. So we went and got yellow socks, and we definitely had the Laker look. And, like, that night, we played against the team that we had lost to, I think, prior. I couldn't remember if it was or wasn't, but it was a team that we were expecting to have a close matchup with, and those girls just played lights out. I mean, just put it all out on the court. And even in the season championship, we lost to a team which, my record for that team was they, in the 2 years that we had with them, they only lost once. And they were literally averaging almost, I mean, like 50 to 60 points a game, which is a lot because it's a running clock at 10 minutes.
Yeah.
They're not even long quarters. You know what I mean? And actually, no, I think they were 5. So I mean, that's pretty big for it being 50. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. But like I was saying, so like it was so like almost magical, man. Like, it just was crazy. Like,
I feel
it
it.
felt like it was the one time in sports that I felt like I was connected. You know what I mean? Like, I could see the kids' vision for it, you know, and what they want to achieve. And even now, like, I coach at the same school that they're at high school at now, and any day I see them at practice, they're just hustling, and even giving. They're freshmen now, and they're giving seniors a run for their money. You know, they're out there balling, and they're out there to work.
Yeah, I can remember the day too. Like, I was at some pickup football game, and I can remember walking over and getting a drink of water, and somebody's like, Kobe died, and I'm like, don't play with me, like, this is a joke right now. And they're like, no, Kobe really passed. And like, I literally went home after that and like broke down in tears, because I'm like, this is a man I looked up to. Like, even though he was beating the hell out of like the players I liked watching and stuff, like,
Yeah.
he always kept it real and gave his all. Like, he never gave up. And just like seeing the effect that he put on so many people, like, it just made me feel complete, because I'm like, this man has done everything he could for people to appreciate him. And like, I know so many people that try to just ruin his image because of what happened when, like, 2003.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, people make mistakes, but he did, like, no one knows what really happened, but like, he made his mistake, and then he learned from it and like excelled and helped others out for the better. And I'm just like, he paid his due, and just for him to be able to do the shit he did, like,
See,
I really look up to him.
Kobe always looked out for the youth.
Exactly.
He knew that his time not necessarily was short,
Yeah.
but he knew life was short. And he always lived with the mentality, it seemed, that he always wanted to leave something behind. You know what I mean? Like, he always wanted to make sure that he left a stamp for the next generation to follow by example. You know, and it ranged from all levels. It was all the way from down to the little league level. You know, I mean, there's pictures of him always being at his girls or at his daughter's games and all their sports and
Coaching them.
Yeah, it wasn't ever just his kids.
Yeah.
He was always trying to be an influence for all of the players on there. You know what I mean? Like, and everyone in the league. And he just seemed so, like, when he wasn't playing NBA basketball, he was
Coaching.
Yeah, he was coaching, and more importantly, he was being a father.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was leading his kids in the right direction. And you know, that's why, like, I have a lot more respect for him than most will give sometimes. I've had that respect for him even before his passing, and it kind of frustrated me a little bit sometimes when I had people that, like, you know, didn't even give him the light of day and saying that he was you know, top 3 or top 2 or even top 1, you know, and then, you know, people pass away, and all of a sudden you want to give you want to give credit. You know what I mean? Like, I've never lived by that standard, you know. And I'm not to say that if you weren't a Kobe fan back then, to like just continue to throw dirt on his name, because that'd be ignorant. But you know, he definitely was someone that you should recognize, you know, in terms of what he accomplished on and off the court. And you know, Lord bless his soul. We wanted to get into some other stuff today, but those talks are heavy, man.
They are.
It even brings a little tear in my eyes.
Yeah.
To just, you know, just reminisce a little bit about, you know, these people that just make our world a better place.
Paved the way, inspiring so many people.
Right. And you know, it I don't know. Like, I'm thinking of, like, when I have kids, you know, like, when down the road, when I have my family, and I'm talking about my childhood heroes, you know, he's one of those people that, you know, definitely leave a stamp on your heart, you know, and they're one of those people that you tell your kids, if you work that hard, then you'll see the benefits of stuff.
Most definitely.
I mean? And that's definitely what he was. I mean, he definitely was someone that won't ever be replicated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
never another Kobe ever.
Right. And man, fuck the Celtics. He'd had 6. But yeah, no, man, that's just, you know, look, you gotta love your sports, man. I love it.
I love it.
Well, Tariq, it has been real, man. I love the conversations today. When Jay gets back in town from Florida, we'll have to do this again.
I can't wait to hear this.
I know, man. I was bringing up some points the other night, and we were kind of getting some jabs in.
We were talking about that. We were like elaborating in the car. I'm like, so what did he mean by when Tory said that he's like gonna be top 3 when Drake's done? I'm like, is he saying top 3 like he gonna be there, or like in Canada? Because I'm like, if we talking about like Canada, you know, there's like Bieber still, The Weeknd. I'm like,
yeah, if Tory gets himself out of the situation that he's in, and it comes out that he's clean and he doesn't have a whole lot of laundry to air out for the next couple of years, I think he has the potential to kind of climb himself up to into that upper echelon tier 1, you know, if he's not already there.
Yeah.
But only time will tell. I guess we'll find out here soon. I don't really know when they're going to have the actual court date or any of that stuff, so I'll try to stay in the loop, and hopefully by the time I get you guys back in, we might know a little more and be able to kind of talk a little bit about it more.
Yeah, hopefully.
So before I let you go, so we had a question that we were talking about at that dinner table, which is something Jay felt a little crazy about too, but I didn't get your insight on it. So in terms of Lil Wayne, who did you prefer in his eras of music? Did you prefer Lil Wayne, Weezy, or Tunchi in his eras?
Ooh. All great, but I'm going to have to go with Weezy.
Yeah.
I don't know. Weezy was a different breed, though, because I'm just like...
Weezy's mixtapes were just... I mean, jeez. Yeah, I mean, like
Lord.
Lil Wayne was so... He was so self-conscious.
Yeah.
Well, not self-conscious, but he was so, like, just on fire in terms of writing his music and actually making that flame switch to just being an all-around polished artist. But when Weezy hit, it was pretty much kind of like that Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
It's time to take over.
And then he started putting everybody on too. Like Drake came out, Nicki Minaj came out. Like
yeah, and you know, Tunchi's like that era of him was awesome too. But I kind of felt like there was too many things that just didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like he kind of pulled a little too many punches for me.
Yeah,
you know,
that's like his last album. Like I was so excited for it. Then when it came out, I was just like, I don't know. I'm just like, this isn't like the Lil Wayne that I was expecting. So
right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so we're gonna see the Carter 6 come out sometime this year, and then we'll see No Ceilings 3 come out sometime this year as well, I believe. So I'm assuming No Ceilings 3 will probably be the mixtape leading up to the Carter 6. Hopefully he's not retired after that, because kind of based on what I've been hearing, it sounds a little bit like he might be hanging it up here soon. So I hope not. I hope we still get more music afterwards. But yeah, I'm excited for it. So,
hell yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna close this episode out. We got into some really fun stuff today, and I'm glad you came on, Tariq, and we'll definitely get you on again in sometime in season 2.
Oh yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So like always, our send off. I hope amidst these crazy times that everyone right now is in good health and is in a situation that you guys aren't having any hardships. I know these crazy times are kind of causing some unfortunate circumstances for others, and we pray and send our blessings to you guys that you guys are in a good situation right now. We love you guys so much and enjoy season 2. And if you haven't checked out season 1, go ahead and check it out on all our platforms. In the links below, we'll go ahead and let you know how to find those. Thank you guys so much, and we love you. Peace.